Ever feel like you've fallen in love and your heart sinks when you get that message? Me too. I was 16. I was young and naive to the world. The internet had just released dating sites. Yeah, I'm showing my age, I know. My name's James and I love to share my travel videos and my lifetime experiences with you guys. Don't forget, after this video, go and check out other videos that I've made because there's tons on there. And let's get stuck into today's video, which is all about getting catfished. When I turned 16 and finally came to terms with the fact that I liked guys, I turned where everyone else turns, and that's to the internet, to discover other gay people in my area. I lived in a small town. There wasn't much in the way of gay clubs or parties or anything like that. The internet became my favorite hangout spot. There was this one site that I joined up to and it was called Lads Lads, and on the hunt I began. Actually, you know what? That's funny. There was another site called Manhunt, but it never seemed to take off. If you guys have heard of any of these, let me know in the comments because I love to know how widespread they were. But I think in England, Lads Lads was the biggest one at the time. There was this one profile that popped up and it was this guy. He was super cute, but he lived in Birmingham, which was about 2 to 3 hours away from where I am. I couldn't help myself, but I clicked like, or whatever it was called, on the button to be able to message him and see if he liked me back. So the wait began to see if he was going to respond. You know, there was something about him and I just wanted to know him better. You know how it goes. Sometimes you're drawn to people, sometimes you're not. I was definitely drawn to him. So I was excited and nervous because I was new to this, right? I didn't know what I was doing and internet dating was still new and everyone was scared of it, but people still started to dabble in it. So I gave it a go. I logged on every day to see if anyone had messaged me that I had liked. And of course, you know, day by day it went by. And eventually he had liked me back. And I sent him a message and I was like, hey, how you doing? It was back like messaging like emails. It was weird. It wasn't like instant messaging like we have now. You would send off your message and off it would go and you would hope that they would see it and reply, which he did, and our conversations began and we started to get to know each other, and it was super exciting because the guy that I really wanted to get to know, I was able to get to know him. Everything was going really well and we had been talking for about a month and we decided to exchange phone numbers because then that way we were able to text each other, even though back in those days, you had to prepay your phone with credit so that you could text or call. Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that in forever. It wasn't like plans like we have now. You used to top up like £10 and it would last you for like a week or 2 weeks or however much you used your phone. So we started texting. He wanted to call me to be able to talk on the phone. I didn't know how to cope with this because I was super insecure and anxious and whatever. But he called me. And as the phone was ringing, oh my gosh, I had so many nerves and like, oh my God, how do I do this? Like, what if he doesn't like my voice, etc., etc. So I finally did it. I picked up the phone. I answered, hello, how are you? I was a lot more British back then. I don't have that strong of a British accent now. And I'm not going to mimic that for you right now either. So use your imagination. I hated talking on the phone. It turned out to be really nice and smooth and easy to talk to him. We ended up just chatting for hours, and that literally became how I spent my evenings for the next few months. I would lay there in bed and just talk to him until one of us fell asleep, and it was so... oh my gosh, it was like the movies, you know, where you see they lay in the bed and they're on the phone, like, and they fall asleep with it on their ear, depending if it was me that fell asleep first or him. It was super cute. It was like a whole thing, and we built up a bond and spent hours and hours each night on the phone. It was really cool. But of course, there was no FaceTime. There was no way to visually see each other or anything like that. It was just a phone call. Ironically, my best friend that I had made in high school, that we were out of school now, she had been talking to someone who also lived in Birmingham, which is where this guy was from. It was so weird. We talked over the few months that, you know, I was talking to this guy, and we thought, wouldn't it be fun if we got the train up to Birmingham, went and met who we had been talking to online and spent the day with them, and then came home that night, got to meet who we had both been like fawning over and falling for because we were young and naive and in love of whatever that means at that age. So we decided to try and make it happen. I was bursting with excitement because this person that I've been talking to, I was finally going to get a chance to meet him, and I was so smitten that I was so excited to meet him. And I told him on the phone, and I was so excited, and of course he was super excited. It became all I could think about. All I wanted to talk about was being able to go and meet him. Me and my friend decided that we were going to get the earliest train in the morning, get there, hang out all day, and then get back in the evening. We were counting down those days. She didn't want to go by herself to meet someone, of course, because of it felt safer being with me. Totally understandable, especially back in that day and age. I wanted to go with her as well and meet who she had been talking to, because I think I had spoken to her on the phone as well. We woke up, we got to the train station, got on the train, made our way to Birmingham. We were so excited. I wasn't going to see this guy until later on because he had stuff during the day that he wasn't going to be able to meet me, but that was fine. No worries. So we spent the day with my friend's first date, girlfriend, whatever you want to call her. We had such a great time. We got to see Birmingham, see the shopping mall and all this stuff that we were doing around there. And I was texting this guy all day, telling him what we were up to and how excited I was to meet him later. As the daylight started to fade, it became sunset, you know, evening vibes. I was getting a little bit anxious about maybe not seeing him. But my phone rang and he called me. And I was so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, this is the moment I've been waiting for months. Like, I'm so excited to meet him and he's calling me and I'm here in his like town and it's like gonna be amazing. I'm so excited, right? I ran over to like the nearby wall so I could sit down on the phone, talk to him and be like all excited and whatever, however you are when you're that young. And while we were sat there and we were talking on the phone, he turned around to me and he was like, hey, I have something I need to tell you before we meet. Of course, my anxiety started to peak and I was a bit like, oh no, what's going on? Like, what does this mean? How do I react to this? But I held it together and I was like, okay, what's up? Like, what's going on? The mood kind of shifted on the phone and I asked him what it was that he needed to tell me. And he then started to express the fact that he wasn't who he said he was. I was a bit confused and I was like, what do you mean? Like, explain. He said that he wasn't the guy in the photos. I was like, okay, like, I'm confused, but okay. And he said, I also am not 19 or 18 or however old he said he was. I was like, okay, like, how old are you? And he was 35 and he was not the guy in the photos. So basically every image that I had concocted of what he was actually like was completely wrong. And my stomach felt like it fell out of my body and I was so upset and I was like, oh my God, how do I deal with this? And he started to like desperately talk to me and be like, you know, I'm still the person that you've got to know. Everything I've told you about who I am, my life is just like, it's all me. Like, that is who I genuinely am. I'm just not the image or the age that you thought I was. And it really shook me a lot because I had built up such an image of who he was and I was completely wrong. I got really upset and I think I hung up on him and I didn't know what to do. And he tried calling me back over and over. And of course, I didn't want to take those phone calls. I didn't want to meet him anymore. Like, what do I do? Do I accept his call and meet him and hope for the best? Or do I, like, just, that's it, done? So I went over and I told my friend about it and she couldn't believe what was happening. And yeah, she was like, you shouldn't meet him because, you know, he's lied to you. How is this any way to even start a conversation or be with somebody or anything like that? And she was right. Like, of course, I was young and naive and I just wanted it to be great. But of course, that wasn't going to be the case. I decided not to meet him. He tried calling me, oh my gosh, so many times and text me and everything. But of course, I didn't want to talk to. How do you talk to someone who's just lied about who they are completely to you? We went home, back to the house, and I was really distraught by this. Like, it really impacted me a lot because I had put so much time and energy into this person. And at that age, you know, day feels like a long time. And it just felt like so much time had passed and I was so excited. And to find out that he wasn't who he said he was like such a horrible moment. I had a break from the internet for a while. As you can imagine, I didn't want to go on dating sites because I didn't trust anyone anymore. And nowadays we have FaceTime and stuff, so we're able to confirm who people are. So if you're out there and you're talking to someone online, make sure you FaceTime, make sure you see them face to face on a camera or something so that you know exactly who you're meeting and really get to know them as well, especially if you plan on dating them. But what's really funny and a huge comical part of this story is a few years ago, there was a TV show that some of you may know called America's Next Top Model, and they brought guys on. One of the guys that they brought on was super hot and attractive, and I was instantly attracted to him, of course. And I was like, oh, he looks kind of familiar. They started bringing up photos of them in the past when they were younger and how they got to where they are, etc., etc. I kid you not, the person in this TV show when he was younger was the photograph that guy had used on Lads Lads when I was young and catfished me with. So I was so confused while watching America's Next Top Model because I felt like I knew him, even though I had no idea who he was because it was a catfish. But I feel like this is who I've been talking to all those months and it wasn't. I just felt so stupid and naive, and how random that would pop up years later and bring back all those memories of this experience. Like, it's so crazy, but interesting at the same time. Like, oh my God, that was so funny. Looking back on this experience, it taught me so much about internet dating, and I'm so lucky that I had my friend there. I'm so glad he told me on the phone and didn't just come and meet me, because of that would have been awful. What would I have done? Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I'm so glad that he told me on the phone. And it could have taken a really bad turn, let's be real. Like, it could have been really bad. It could have been like awful. So I did get out quite light for the whole experience. But at that age, of course, it was devastating. Have you ever had a catfish experience? If you have, let me know if you're brave enough in the comments, because I love to hear your stories about these things. Like, I read all of the comments that I get, and I really enjoy hearing that I'm not alone going through this and other people out there have similar experiences. And if you do enjoy my story time and you like travel vlogs, then hit subscribe. There's plenty to check out here, and there's going to be even more. I'm so excited to bring them all to you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good night. See ya.